This podcast was recorded at the American headquarters of the Etheria Society, located in Hollywood, California, where service is the jewel in the rock of attainment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, they're all over there this time. Moves around.
That's right. Better watch you guys on that side. Coming when they're coming, Brian.
Get your side to them. Well, welcome, and thanks for coming to the third class in our series of 9 of the 9 freedoms. And this one, of course, is on the third freedom, which is
Service.
service. And I'm Brian Keneipp.
And I'm Richard Quezada.
And why don't we start with a question that we had from the podcast audience on the previous freedom, love.
One of the questions that was very interesting and something that bears some attention was how much does reverence for the target, we spoke about love and sending love energy to a place or a person or a thing, and continuing, how much does reverence, for the target play a part in the quality of the love you are sending out? That was a question posed.
That's a very good question. And it's important to think about the word reverence. And normally you think of reverence as being someone greater than you. And so it is, of course, very important to have a deep reverence if you're going to be sending some love or some prayers to, say, the mighty sun or the Mother Earth. But let's say you want to send a prayer to your pet dog or your cat. And then it's not often considered reverence, but if you think of reverence in a different way, reverence for life, if we're all one, if we're all a spark of God, we're all part of the Absolute, then you can develop a reverence for all things. And again, what we learned in the last freedom, that the love will go if you really consider yourself one, because that oneness really is almost a carrier for that love. And so the more that you do revere and really think of wherever you're trying to send your prayer as an aspect of God, it will help, definitely.
Power of love.
Very important. Now, one thing we were going to mention, and we haven't yet, is it's important to remember that we are in a spiritual push. And this podcast, these classes started on the first day of the spiritual push, and now we're, 3 weeks into the spiritual push?
And to recap to those who are not familiar with what a spiritual push is, it is a period throughout the year, which are 4 segments in a year, of which an interplanetary craft comes into orbit of this planet, orbiting at 1,550 miles above the surface. And during its orbit, this crew of cosmic masters manipulates spiritual energies down to the earth upon all the realms, the physical realm being one of many, and provides to every person who performs a selfless act a magnification, an enhancement of a factor of 3,000 times. This is extremely important to understand and think about in your heart, because here you have a golden opportunity, never before truly in our history that we can certainly understand, that we have consciously a period in which we can cooperate with these cosmic beings who've come to our world with compassionate hearts, spending their precious time for we people, we warlike people, and give us this divine opportunity to help really change our planet in the now with this magnificent spiritual power. And goes back, once again, to the power of love, as we learned last week, and we will continue throughout the years of our life and into the future, that this power magnifies itself by a factor of 4, this formula. It's an enormous, enormous opportunity for us to do wonderful good. So tonight we're going to go into service.
Go to the next one. And as a recap, remember the first freedom was bravery. And that's important because we live in this mire of materialism that really keeps us down, keeps us selfish, really. And so to get over that, we have to develop bravery to get out of this mess of materialism that we're in. And once you kind of raise yourself up out of this materialistic mess through the bravery, what do? Then you start accessing this great power called love. And that's what we learned last time. And now we kind of get down into some real grassroots of some of the practical aspects of love in service. And we're going to get into that. And I think we ought to start proper and listen to Mars Sector 6 pronounce the third freedom.
Let us quiet our minds and assume a posture which is a sign of reverence for this great master.
And again, tune into this great, wonderful power behind the words as well. Mark, track 1.
The third of freedom will be a service, a freedom from a selfishness is a service.
Such a wonderful power, isn't it?
It speaks of selfishness, and it's a word that we hear all the time. From we're children, you're selfish. We say to someone else in our lifetime, somehow we're going to blurt it out, you're selfish. And indeed we have all been selfish in one form or another throughout our life. However, when a cosmic being of Mars Sector 6's status and makes this declaration regarding selfishness, then we have to take great heed. A thought came to Brian and I today as we were preparing for today's podcast and class, that a contemplation would be worthy of your time. And it is simply this, that if we view the world as your personal body, with all the havoc, all the war, all the rape, all the horrible things that are happening, and it's happening in your body right now, what would you do about it? Would you neglect it? Would you just let it pass by? Or would you address it? So, in this case, selfishness, in many cases, is this ignorance of our body as a living cell, each of us here, in this wonderful, wonderful green world that we live upon. And this cosmic master is addressing directly to the heart of the matter regarding selfishness in its opposite, which is selflessness.
You know, it's on the one hand, it seems obvious, I suppose, that selfishness is bad. But if you think about how we live in the West, especially, it's almost like it's a badge of honor almost. You know, people kind of brag about their cars and their houses and their clothes and their tennis shoes and whatnot. And it's almost gotten to the point where a little bit of selfishness is okay. I mean, you can have more stuff, and it's kind of a good thing. And you see these little license plates that say, "He with the most toys wins." And this is kind of an attitude that our society, anyway, in the West, propagates. And it's being said here that it's going the exact wrong direction. And it's kind of concentrating on the separateness of everyone. In other words, because if I've got lots of stuff, there's only a finite amount of stuff on earth. And so if I've got lots of stuff, then other people have got to have less stuff. Kind of causing a separation. Like, why should I have more stuff than you? And he goes on, Mark 6:6, and he says, doesn't say that selfishness is bad, but he says that freedom from selfishness. In other words, it's like a disease. It's something that holds you down. It's painful. It brings with it painful karma. And so freedom from this selfishness is service. And then he goes on and tells you how to free yourself through service.
You know, there's a brilliant transmission, a message to Earth from the great bright angel from Venus that we know as the Master Aetherius. And he puts it very simply in a cosmic voice dated in 1961, number 25 for those who will follow through and acquire this particular jewel of a cosmic voice, which was the public organ, the printed organ of the Aetherius Society, and continues to this day to be so. In one of the wonderful series of blessed truths that he gives to our world, he says very simply this, and this is a quote: "How can you spend many lives in selfish appreciation without depreciating?" And if you think about that statement, it is so true. We are constantly depreciating by our selfishness.
Because those words aren't normally put together. So let's read it again.
All right, let's do it again for emphasis.
How can you spend many lives in selfish appreciation without depreciating? That's really a great way of saying it.
In a polite way, too. Right to the point. At this point, why don't we continue to read a little bit further into to this service.
All right.
Freedom.
This is again from Mars Sector 6, and this follows directly from the quote that we just heard. In these days, there is much service which is vitally important to Terra. There are few servers. Service is a culmination of experiences which denote the server as being on the ladder of evolution, firmly on this ladder. Those who have a yearning desire to serve, and indeed are doing so, are those who have slain selfishness, are those who are gradually overcoming their lower materialistic aspects, are those who are, sometimes slowly, but nevertheless surely, advancing towards enlightenment. And of course, enlightenment is number 4.
Next week, we will get into this. As it continues, and we can go on, of course, and this is the beauty about the podcast, is that we're here to spend a few minutes to speak about this wonderful mystical text, this collection of wondrous teachings given from this great cosmic source. However, in the service, the Master says, if you would burn up your lower karmic aspects, you would serve. Well, we're constantly thinking about our lower karmic aspects. How can we improve ourselves on a day-to-day basis? How can we make some dramatic change in our life quickly and not quite effortlessly, but certainly directly? And he, once again, in his very brilliant, simple way, he says, service to the world will improve your life, and at the same time improve someone else's life automatically, but you will burn at the same time your karmic dross, in a way. This dross that you carry, we carry all this karmic baggage with us day by day. So you're accomplishing every day wonderful changes in your karmic pattern. And today we have a wonderful excerpt from the Master, which we'll play in this evening's study group, and he specializes in the topic of karma. We can never hear enough about what karma is, how it moves and shapes our life, and how we can impact it.
Are you jumping ahead again, Richard?
I'm always jumping ahead.
He's always jumping ahead. We've got another extract by Mars Sector 6 this time that precedes. So we hear that one?
Let's go.
That's a beautiful extract which really puts the exclamation point on service. So let's again sit up straight and listen to these powerful words from Mars Sector 6 on service. Number 2, Mark.
The greatest yoga is service. The greatest religion is service. The greatest act is that act done in service.
He's pretty definite. One reason why I love this whole freedom, but for anyone who's done lots of reading, or any reading for that matter, on yoga, the standard texts tend to put karma yoga at the bottom. That's the first step. It's like if you go to a master and you want to do Kundalini yoga or Jnana yoga, etc., and you aren't quite there, they'll say, "Oh, you aren't ready yet, go out and do some karma yoga," to kind of burn up your karma and then come back. And that's the way it's been for thousands and thousands of years. And we're now being told that it's now the complete opposite. The king of all karma, of all yoga now, the most important yoga is karma yoga, the yoga of service.
And this goes into the religion. Most of the religions of the world are very confined to the parishioners, very confined to their particular way of belief. And if you have a belief that's outside or away from their particular belief, then you are considered an outsider. You don't understand that their path to God or their worship is more elevated. So therefore you are less than. Here this master, Mars Sector 6, absolutely puts the stamp upon the world's qualifications of what religion is, and that religion is service. It is no longer whether or not you wear the robe, or you wear you bow to the east to Mecca, or you have a cross. It's no longer symbology, it's a direct statement. And this is where we're at today. The vagueness of what we believe in, or what you believe in, it comes to the point what handsome says, handsome does, and vice versa. So, in other words, if we are truly wishing to gain a hold of this freedom and have it live in our life, then we need to follow these precepts, which is religion is service.
The greatest religion.
The greatest religion.
Absolutely. Now, you had a very good reading to read, I think, didn't you?
Yes. Once again, we will start to introduce a few other holy works presented to earth for the benefit of all mankind. The Aetherius Society are the custodians of these cosmic teachings. However, these teachings are for everyone. No matter what your age, race, color, creed, it is for everyone. So in the book I'm going to read from, it's called The Three Saviors Are Here. And I think we referred to this book last week. However, there is a wonderful part in this book that applies to service in these days. And I'll read. Once again, this is from our master, who's writing in a commentary during this book. We are now in the Aquarian age, the age of service to the masses. No longer are the systems of isolation recommended by the true teachers. As a matter of fact, like it or not, and some of us may not like it, the systems now recommended in this age, or in this stage of the evolution of mankind as a unit, are just the opposite from isolation. The Aquarian age, with its emphasis on improvement of the conditions for the mass of humanity, demands the metaphysician to spend his time in service among men, rather than isolating himself from mankind as he has been recommended to do throughout the past centuries in order to enjoy personal bliss. As the Aquarian experience cycle advances, more and more emphasis will be placed upon service in order to improve the educational systems and living conditions of the majority.
It might be a good point just to open up for any kind of questions that anyone might have or comments, because service is it kind of has a bad rap, really, doesn't it? Service. You think of the term servant, and you think of someone lower, someone not really as high as you are, kind of a thing.
Or it has no value in a way. It's like evaluating a service person is a person who's a housekeeper in a hotel, or some form of a gasoline attendant, some basic vocation that people have. We're not talking, even though the language is the same, it's like service in this case is a freedom. It is a freedom which we need to truly live if we wish to enjoy spiritual evolution.
Actually, he puts Mark chapter 6 puts a nice spin on it too, which I think kind of helps make service a lot more exciting. And this is a really great sentence. He goes, "Serve in the great spiritual battle, and you can walk with head high and stand in any hall, unafraid to read what be written there." That kind of gives service another spin. It makes it almost like a spiritual warrior. And that's kind of an exciting term, spiritual warrior. But in our mind, and what Mark chapter 6 is saying, a spiritual warrior focuses on service. He helps people in all ways, in many, many ways, all the time. That's what he strives to do, is help people. And of course, you can look at the mighty sun, and the sun spends all of its time in service to us. There's this great, great, wonderful God, and it spends 24 hours a day sending out tremendous love and energy and pranas all throughout the solar system. That is a great example of service. To me, it makes it very exciting.
Imagine if one of these great cosmic beings, well, let's talk about the Mother Earth, decided, well, I don't fancy having mankind on my body any longer. I think I'm just going to boot him right off. And I might move myself in the position of the solar system. Or for that matter, take myself and move myself right across the galaxy. What's stopping her? The fact that she has great compassion for mankind. And if that compassion is a reality, and we all nod our heads saying, we understand that's a reality. We may not know how it all functions on a day-to-day basis because she is a planetary goddess, a cosmic being. However, we are upon her. Therefore, isn't it an obligation to consider her and consider our alignment with her and act in such a way that we are in harmony with nature, her nature, that nature of service?
That's what prayer is too. Like when you pray for the world, you aren't expecting anything back from the world necessarily. You're asking, you want to try and help uplift the world. And that prayer really is normally selfless and not asking for anything back. Obviously, we aren't talking about the kind of prayer we heard last Wednesday with the Janis Joplin song.
Yes.
We aren't talking about that particular kind of prayer.
No, those of you in podcast land didn't hear us play that, but during our presentation, we actually interrupted and segued to Janis Joplin's Mercedes-Benz. We played that for the people attending her at the temple, and it got a laugh, of course, and a little bit of a praise.
I can sing a little bit of it if you like.
No, thank you, Brian. But yes, Wajid.
I found out today in the Reader's Digest that oysters are not into service because they're shellfish.
Yes. That was he's our house comedian, Wajid Hassan. In fact, you may have seen him on several movies. He's an actor. And what was that joke you said, Wajid? Say it louder.
I heard today in the Reader's Digest that oysters are not into service because they're shellfish.
True.
Very, 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 very deep, that one. Yes.
Yes.
Well,
I think we're going to move into
should we move on and
an extract
from
the Master.
This is our first extract for the evening from our Master, and that is on the transmutation of religions, and that'll be track 3. Mark, could you play that one?
We'll see that service is becoming more and more important in these days because it is the new yoga of the age. It is the new religion. It will bypass all other religions. It will see all other religions out and transmuted into religions of service. And now I'll throw something out on the astral realms and the mental realms of this earth and hearken to it, because here is a prophecy which will turn out to be true, as sure as you are and I am. There will come a day when all religious beliefs will be transmuted into the action of service to others. And those religions which today, and there are some, are purely academic religions will be replaced. They'll be wiped off the surface of the earth if necessary. And this, too, appertains to all societies, clubs, committees, whatever they might call themselves, as belonging to this, that, or the other, unless those organizations are planned or can be planned in such a way that they give service to others, even if it's only to 2 or 3, nevertheless give service to others, they will be replaced. There is no place for them in the new world. There cannot be. Now, there are many organizations about which are giving service. They're giving service to the people who belong to the organization. They often give service to people outside. They're organizations which send out prayers and help and healing and so on to all the world, irrespective of who they are. Such organizations as these will last. But those very tight little cliques, and there are some in this country and in Europe, who are only concerned with some teaching which came through 200 years ago anyway, and they are now purely theoretical organizations, can close their book today or it'll be closed for them. That's it. And those statements are now stamped on the Akashic records and can never be erased by anyone. And they are true, as you will see. Most of you already realized this, maybe even realized it years ago, and are serving in one way or the other. I know some of you belong to groups who are serving by sending out healing and power and so on to the world and to the country as well as to your own congregations. You are the people who will succeed. No matter what is thrown against you, you will succeed.
That's a good statement.
That's why he's the master.
I want to read this one quote, another quote about service. And this might kind of help us hone in on what service is. What is service but love in practical action? Is that just a great statement? I mean, you can't, well, I guess you could, but most of us wouldn't spend all of our time doing prayer, doing 12 blessings 24 hours a day. It'd be kind of hard to do that. We are told that that's a goal, but most of us are not going to be doing that. And so you can still send out your love through the rest of the time by helping others. And there's so many ways to help others. Just, well, I think everyone knows there's so many different ways to help others. It's also good to think, when you are helping someone else, you're obviously manipulating your karma, but might you also be manipulating their karma a little bit? Taking on some of their karma. We're told that the great masters do that. Of course, they do that brilliantly in the way they do that. But perhaps, just perhaps, if we are going about our day, and we've got certain places we have to go and things we have to do, etc., and we see someone that needs some healing. We're very busy, we got deadlines, etc., but we stop. We stop what we're doing, and we go and we help that person. We give them healing. Is that possible that we're taking on some little bit of their karma? We're helping them. We're taking time out of our day. We're using our energy to help them, to uplift them. It's a thought to throw out.
It's a wonderful thought. And it resounds throughout the Nine Freedoms. It resounds throughout the message of the Cosmic Masters throughout the many years. It resounds that we are a part of the whole. And in sending out the pure love energy to those who suffer, those who require it, obviously all of us require love. There's not a single one of us that doesn't require it. In our Master.
This podcast was recorded at the American headquarters of the Ethereal Society, located in Hollywood, California, where service is the jewel in the rock of attainment.